I had no self-control. I led with my emotions. I let people affect me so much, and I was tired of that. And I was like, what does a life look like where I'm in control? And now I know, and I'll tell you that this life is way better than that life. And I believe in you to do it as well. It doesn't matter how long you've been a certain way, you can completely make a 180 shift in how you show up and how people view you. Because, like I said, when you lack emotional intelligence, when you lead with your emotions and you allow people to affect you so much, people don't take you seriously. It's so much harder for people to respect you when you behave that way. But when you show up composed and you actually think about the decisions you make, when you actually think about the decisions you make, people take you seriously because they know once you said, I'm done, or this is over, or I'm gonna make this decision, or I agree to this, they know you mean it. Whereas someone who is always just leading with their emotions, nobody takes that person seriously. Do you want to be someone who no one takes seriously? I don't think so. Hey guys, welcome back to the Veda Mindset Podcast. I've been so sick the past 2 weeks. I still am really sick, but I'm just gathering up the energy I have to finally put something out for you guys. So if you guys hear my voice is like more raspy, it's because I literally have been so sick for the past 2 weeks. Before I continue, I just want to let you guys know, if you guys like this podcast, if you guys like the knowledge I'm sharing, go ahead and subscribe to my YouTube channel. Or if you're listening to it on Apple or Spotify, go ahead and give it a rating. This is what will help me push out my podcast even more to a wider audience. If you guys want to see more of me, more of my thoughts, more of my lifestyle, go ahead and follow me on Instagram and TikTok. I will leave that in the description. I want to start off this episode by telling you guys how I used to be, how I used to act, and how I finally was able to change that part about myself. So I used to be a really impulsive person. I let my emotions guide me. I didn't have much emotional intelligence at all, and this would lead me to make more chaotic decisions, and it would always make me have a very high highs and low lows, so like an up and down life. I had no concept of self-regulation. I didn't know how to regulate my thoughts and my emotions, and this would lead me to always make dramatic decisions. Not only would I make dramatic decisions, but I would also go back on my word, back on my promises. People didn't take me seriously because I was so impulsive and I let my emotions guide me so much, so people viewed me to be a very immature, impulsive person. Honestly, I wouldn't be surprised if people looked down upon me because the way I would handle situations, it just wasn't the most mature way. I was really irresponsible. I just didn't make the best decisions. Every single thing was so dramatic because I had no concept for controlling myself. I honestly just kept letting life happen to me. I wasn't in control of anything. I didn't take control of the situations. I just let life control me. I let situations control me. I let people control me. Like everything always affected me so deeply. And I got so drained from being like that. I got so drained from behaving that way. I got so drained from just always making impulsive decisions. And people didn't trust me. People didn't trust my word. People, knew that I was predictable. Like, in the sense of predictability, I mean, let's say you would tell your ex, like, I don't want anything to do with you. And then next week you're feeling really sad and then you text your ex. Like, and that's what I mean by predictability. I was so predictable. The people around me knew it. Everybody just didn't take me seriously. And I was so tired of behaving that way. It was really draining. And I honestly didn't want people to view me in that manner anymore. I wanted people to finally take me seriously. I wanted people to view me as more intelligent, but people aren't going to view me that way if I don't change something about myself. And that's what this episode is going to be about. I want to tell you guys how I got from that persona to who I am today. And who I am today, I have a lot of self-control. I am very emotionally intelligent. I know how to regulate myself. I know know when to not make a decision. I know when to calm myself down. And showing up this way makes life way better because chaos no longer follows me. People take me seriously. And it's way healthier because this is what helps me develop healthy connections, healthy relationships, and this is what makes people know that they can't mess with me because I say what I mean and I mean what I say. Whereas before, nobody took me seriously because I was just always acting out, acting on emotion, acting on impulse, and acting that way is really unattractive. And just be real with yourself. You don't respect someone who acts like that. You don't respect someone who is always leading with their emotions, always leading with their anger or their pain, and they're making these decisions and then they're coming back to you and going back on their word. You don't respect people like that. And I didn't respect myself when I was acting like that. And I wanted to change. I wanted people to respect me. I wanted people to take me seriously. I wanted people to see my intelligence levels, and I needed to become all of those things first. One simple change I can tell you to start doing to become like the version of you that has self-control and it has emotional intelligence and people actually look up to you and believe what you say and they take you seriously. One thing I can tell you to start doing is stop being predictable. Like I mentioned, I used to be really predictable, and when I say predictable, I mean, you say to someone you don't want them in your life anymore, and then next week you're texting them again. Wow, you're so predictable. Of course you would do that. Or maybe somebody breaks up with you and then you start posting a bunch of pictures of yourself trying to get their attention. Wow, you are so predictable. I see people act this way a lot, and I used to act that way, and people can see right through it. I call it you being predictable, and I don't use it as a neutral term. I kind of look down upon it. I used to be like that, and it's embarrassing. It's embarrassing coming off that way. It's like people can see right through you. People can see right through your actions. You're so predictable. You're impulsive. You make an impulsive decision and now you're going back on your word. Wow. So predictable of you. And if you want to stop behaving that way, you need to stop making impulsive decisions. I feel like making impulsive decisions is one of the roots to behaving this way and having this persona. You go back on your word or you behave certain ways and you act so predictable. And it's because you have made impulsive decisions. You're not thinking before you're acting. You don't do as you say and say what you do. People know that they don't take you seriously because you don't follow through with your word. And maybe it's not just following through with your word. Maybe it's you do all these erratic things and impulsive things to get people's attention. And again, that doesn't make anyone take you seriously. It just adds on to you being viewed as someone who doesn't respect themselves or take themselves seriously. In order to stop making impulsive decisions, you need to stop leading with your emotions. And I understand how hard that can be because I always led with my emotions. And I guess this depends on the person and the temperament you have. But I know I've always had this like impulsivity, this fiery emotional part of me that I always led with. And I remember I would be envious of my twin sister. My twin sister is the opposite of me. She doesn't lead with her emotions. She's so logical and she's so calm and she communicates so well, and that was the opposite of me. And I could see the differences in our lives and the differences in our relationships because I would behave a certain way and she would behave a way more calm, secure way. And I wanted to start embodying that. I was so tired of honestly seeing the messes I would create for myself because I was so impulsive and I led with my emotions all the time. So in order to stop making impulsive decisions, Stop cutting people off. Stop texting them this whole paragraph. Stop making these huge decisions just because you're angry or just because you're sad. The way you stop being impulsive and change your behaviors is you need to start learning how to regulate your emotions and regulate yourself, regulate your thoughts. We run with the narratives we create in our minds. We see a situation and we immediately think the worst. And that's what drives us to these intense emotions that build up in us. And then we think that these emotions mean we have to do something, that we need to take action, that we need to text them, that we need to call them, that we need to make this huge decision. And that's not what you're supposed to do. And it's honestly just your sense of control. These emotions come up in you and you need to go take action because you're trying to take control of the situation. When in reality, you don't need to do anything. You need to sit there with your emotions and understand why you are feeling this way. And it's usually because, like I said, we create narratives in our head based on our insecurity levels, based on our belief systems. We may think more catastrophically. We may think from a more insecure mindset, from a more pessimistic mindset. And that's what enables us to create unfavorable narratives in our head about situations or about people. And when we ruminate on these narratives that we've made up, it makes us want to take these impulsive decisions. It makes us want to act in these erratic ways, and we destroy friendships, we destroy relationships, we make ourselves look like a fool, and maybe we do things that we're not proud of. So you need to begin learning how to regulate yourself. Honestly, you don't want to be that person that constantly blows up on people. You don't want to be that person constantly sending essays to people, trying to explain to them why you're worthy and why they should treat you better. You don't want to always be making impulsive decisions just to get reactions out of people. And I feel like most of the times when I acted that way, it was because I was trying to get some sort of reaction, some sort of attention, some sort of validation, some sort of answer from someone. And yeah, maybe you'll get your answer, maybe you'll get your validation or response or whatever you wanted, but is it really worth it when you kind of look like an idiot at the end, when you look really immature? I don't think it's that worth it. You want to be in control of your emotions. You don't want your emotions to be in control of you, because when your emotions are in control of you, that is why you make decisions and go back on them. That's why you destroy relationships. That's why you make decisions that you're not proud of. But when you're finally in control with your emotions, you run everything. You are the one who sets the tone. You are the one who knows what you're doing. You choose carefully what actions you want to take next because you are in control of yourself. You don't let your emotions guide you. Like I said, for myself in my past, I was very emotional. So when I felt a very intense emotion coming up, I thought that meant I had to take action. I had to go call that person up and tell them how I felt. I had to go send them a whole long message. I had to go text someone who I haven't spoken to in years because my emotions are telling me to. And like I said, your emotions aren't an indicator that you need to take an action. It's only showing you something deeper about yourself to explore. I see with other types of people who are a bit more avoidant. You can tell that I was a very anxious person, like anxious attachment, I mean. But with avoidant types of people, they will actually repress their emotions. So when it comes to self-regulation, it's basically co-regulation but internalized. Co-regulation is someone helping you regulate yourself, where in this case, when you were a baby, your parent was supposed to help regulate you. When you're crying, when you're upset, your parent was supposed to help regulate you. But depending on how your parent did that, it can affect how you end up trying to regulate yourself in your adult life. So like I said, for me, when I had high emotions, I think I desired validation or attention or a response from a person. And when avoidant types of people feel the same intense emotions, I think they just want to retract. their impulsive decision, I would say, is breaking up with people or trying to seclude themselves from everyone and just make impulsive decisions like that because they're trying to repress these emotions that are trying to come up for them. So they're trying to get away from those emotions. And then anxious people kind of are at the mercy of their emotions. Like they let their emotions like completely take over where they're making all these crazy decisions. And avoidance, they kind of push those emotions away. And that leads to different types of impulsive decisions. So in reality, in regards to emotions, you want to be able to notice them, accept them, and feel them, not run away from them, but not drown in them. Because when you run away from your emotions or you drown in your emotions, that's what elicits you to make impulsive decisions. So for me, when I wanted to relearn how to basically parent myself, because this is like reparenting yourself, like learning how to regulate yourself, you have to basically treat yourself like now you're the parent trying to take care of yourself because we're not babies anymore. We have to learn how to care for our emotions and tend to ourselves. So for me, when I wanted to begin to stop being so impulsive and not let my emotions take over, I started to tell myself that just because I'm feeling a certain way, just because I miss someone, just because I'm angry, just because I feel devastated, it doesn't mean I need to take any action. I don't need to text anyone. I don't need to contact anyone. I don't need to make any life altering choice. I can just sit there and feel my emotions and unpack why I feel that way. But it doesn't mean I have to make any sort of decision. Like I said, when you want to make a decision so bad in the midst of intense emotions, it's just because you feel like you want to take control. You feel out of control, and by making a decision in the midst of those really, really loud emotions and loud thoughts you're going through, it's just your way of trying to take control of a situation. But then you'll see, even after you make a decision, maybe after you make that impulsive decision, it might feel better for a second. And then you realize you're still not in control. Like, you always have to make more decisions to start gaining that control again. It doesn't really suffice. If anything, when you make that impulsive decision to feel more in control, you actually perpetuate the chaos in your life. And I know that I've experienced that. Especially in regards to dealing with people, I've come to realize silence says a lot more. Like, there is no need for you to constantly be sending paragraphs upon paragraphs to people or spamming them when they're not answering you. You need to learn how to control yourself. And like I said, these really intense emotions may come up on us because we're running certain narratives in our head. We make up these narratives of, oh, that person doesn't want to be with me. Oh, that person is gonna cheat on me. Oh, this person is gonna betray me. Or this really bad thing is gonna happen. I'm not gonna get that opportunity. This good thing is gonna leave my life. We start to come up with these narratives and we run with them, and that's why we start to cultivate these really intense emotions, and it makes us want to make drastic decisions when in reality you have accurately just created this reality that you actually didn't want, and it wasn't there in the first place, but now you have created it because it started in your head. It felt so real. Now you're behaving upon it, and now it's gonna unfold in your life when you could have just sat with your emotions, sat with those narratives, and took it apart. Ask yourself why you are having these catastrophic thoughts. Ask yourself why you're feeling these emotions and how you can regulate yourself and calm yourself down. Because if you don't calm yourself down, that is how you end up sabotaging things in your life. And that's why learning how to have self-control and regulate your emotions is so important, because if you are a very impulsive person, if you are constantly making erratic decisions, if you go back on your word, you are just destroying your life because you are constantly sabotaging things. An example of what I mean by creating false stories in your head and letting your emotions run you, it can be seen in relationships. Like, for example, maybe you have an abandonment wound and you're an anxious person and you feel like your partner is going to leave you. And you create this narrative in your head. And in order to beat that person to leaving you, you leave them first. And that's because you couldn't get a hold of your anxious thoughts, you couldn't get a hold of your insecurities, and that person was never going to leave you, but then you just created what you didn't want. And when you left, leaving them makes you feel good. It makes you feel really confident in yourself, like you're in control. It leaves you in this state of pride. And then what? And then what do you feel the next day, the next week, the next month, the next year? You realize that that didn't have to happen, and you felt in control for a moment, and then you begin to spiral again after. And that's just one example of what impulsive decisions look like and how they come to pass through the narratives you choose to live by. And I get it. It feels really good to perpetuate your narrative. It feels really good to believe in the worst in people. It feels really good to make an impulsive decision and feel prideful about it. I've been there. But again, these are just putting band-aids on our wounds. It's not cultivating anything healthier for us. We think we're onto something when we make these impulsive decisions, and in actuality, we perpetuate our own suffering. One other thing I started doing for myself to get me from a person who was so impulsive and so dramatic and led with my emotions all the time to now being a person who is very composed, who actually takes the time to think before they make a decision. One thing that has helped me is being able to compose myself in regards to the situation, but to family members, loved ones, when I'm not in the situation, I'll vent. I'll let myself be sad. I'll cry about it. But in the actual situation, in the discussion, like in regards to, let's say you're having a disagreement with someone, in that disagreement, I will make sure to compose myself. I will make sure to say how I feel in the healthiest manner, and I will try not to make any impulsive decisions. And behind closed doors, away from the disagreement, I'll go vent to my family. I'll go vent to my sister. I'll go cry, and I'll be sad, and I'll feel anxious, and I'll be angry, and I'll let it out. But the person I'm having a disagreement with will never see that side of me. And that's actually how I've managed to come off very controlled and intelligent, because when you come off controlled and intelligent, like, I'm not saying I'm like that 24/7, and I'm not saying it's fake either, but you need an outlet. And the way I'm able to present myself in disagreements like that or through breakups is because I am letting out my emotions, just not in front of the person. That person's not going to see my anger and my pain. It's not worth it. They don't deserve it. And they don't get to see that side of me. I like to keep that side of me towards my family, my loved ones, and myself. I let out my emotions by myself in my room. And then I walk to that disagreement. I walk to that person and have that conversation very calm, cool, and collected. And that's how I am able to manage myself and manage my thoughts and manage my emotions, because I've already let it out. I've already let it out. I've already expressed myself behind closed doors. And to the person in the situation or the disagreement, I come with my head on my shoulders and try to convey myself properly. I try to handle everything healthily despite the emotions that were in me. And I do this because I got really tired of people looking at me like I was this crazy dramatic girl. A lot of this was a very personal journey for me. I was so tired of people viewing me as this girl who just like succumbed to her emotions. Like, I just let my emotions drive me. I was just too expressive, too angry, too emotional. And that's not attractive. That's not an attractive trait, and that's not how I want it to be. And I committed to wanting to become a type of person where people view me as composed. And that's what I have mastered. I'm very composed to the person. That doesn't mean that I don't show my emotions behind closed doors. That doesn't mean I don't cry and be angry and vent to the people around me. The people around me, my close friends or my sister, they know how angry I get. Like when I tell them about the situation, I will vent to them. But the person who I'm having an altercation with won't see that side of me because it's just not necessary and it's not appropriate. So don't let this like confuse you. Like you can feel your emotions, but know when and how to represent yourself in that situation. You can go ahead, feel your emotions, go vent, go cry, go sob in your room, go be angry. But when it comes to the situation, the confrontation or dealing with the person or disagreement, you go in there composed and confident and sure of yourself. You don't just break down you don't break down in front of them. And that's why venting behind closed doors and really getting my emotions out helps me come back to the disagreement or the issue composed. Whereas before, I would lash out on the person. I would come to the confrontation feeling super angry, and nobody wants to listen to you when you're super angry and crazy and wild and are just exuding all these dramatic emotions. No one takes you seriously when you act that way. And that's why I changed. I wanted people to start taking me seriously. I wanted to start taking myself seriously because let's be honest, when you're impulsive and you act erratic and you are so up and down, you act based off emotions, you can't take yourself seriously. Like you don't even believe yourself when you make a promise because you know you'll go back on it. What really formulated my new persona and completely transformed the way I carry myself, the way I act, and it completely got rid of my impulsivity was developing a high level of emotional intelligence. You see, emotional intelligence is honestly one of the most attractive traits somebody can have, and emotional intelligence is what saves your relationships. It's what saves your connections. It's what helps you perpetuate a healthier life. My definition of emotional intelligence is basically just learning how to understand your emotions, understand where they're coming from, understand your thoughts, why you behaved a certain way, and know that part of yourself so deeply where now you can begin navigating things healthier. Because if you can understand where your emotions are coming from and you can understand where your thoughts are coming from and you can understand why you behaved a certain way, then you can start shifting things. Then you can start becoming a healthier, more mature person. Because if you don't understand why you're feeling a certain way and you don't understand why you have those jealous thoughts or insecure thoughts and you don't know why you made that impulsive decision and why you're acting so erratically, if you don't know why, you're not going to be able to change anything. So for me, when I started to develop emotional intelligence, the first thing you want to do was become extremely self-aware. Become extremely self-aware of your emotions and your thoughts and why you made that decision. Why did you think that about that person? Why are you feeling jealous? Why are you feeling insecure? Why are you feeling scared? You begin to ask yourself these questions, and it makes you become really mindful of your day-to-day decisions, your day-to-day feelings, your day-to-day acts. And like I said, this takes a lot of self-awareness. You genuinely need to start pausing and asking yourself, why did I think that? Why did I do that? Because whenever you make an impulsive decision, that is the perfect time to start asking yourself, why did I do that? Like, what made me elicit that response? Why did I feel like I had to go out of my way to get that person's attention? Why did I feel like I had to go out of my way to send them this whole long message to get their response? Oh, it was because I'm feeling anxious, I'm feeling insecure, I'm feeling that I don't have control of the situation, and that was my way of gaining control. These are the questions you ask yourself to start getting the answers that you need. Once you start becoming aware of your thoughts and you're so extremely in tuned with your emotions, you always understand yourself, you know why you behaved a certain way, that's when you can begin changing your approach. So let's say you're more pessimistic and you're more insecure. When you develop emotional intelligence, it will allow you to understand why you feel that way, why you are this person, and why you're behaving this way. And now you can begin changing. And you begin changing by switching your perspective on things. If you want to become a more secure, confident person, you're going to have to start changing the way you think, feel, and act. And that's why emotional intelligence is so important. When you have a strong sense of self and you understand your emotions and you understand your thoughts, and you have developed this high level of emotional intelligence, that's when you can start shifting the way you think so that you can start becoming a more mature, healthy, confident person. You start to use the same tools that you use to increase your emotional intelligence, which is self-awareness and truly understanding the root of your emotions and your behaviors. You use those tools to start beginning to change your perspective on things. And I'll give you some examples. So let's say you're going through a breakup, because I've been going through a breakup, so I'm going to start using that as an example. You can understand that you're feeling really sad, really upset, or you're feeling insecure. You don't make impulsive decisions anymore like how you used to be. And now you kind of want to change your perspective on this breakup. So instead of thinking, oh my God, I'm so sad, this person doesn't like me, this person left me, what am I supposed to do with myself? You begin thinking, wow, now I have so much time and I have the opportunity to focus on myself. I have the opportunity to self-reflect and kind of begin doing things for me. And I can't wait for what this journey has for me. I'm going to make the most out of it. And I'm going to show myself how capable I am. That's cognitive reappraisal. You are changing the way you think about something. You're changing your perspective. So it's not like you're ignoring how upset you are, but you're also understanding the positive aspects to something. Another example is, for me, my twin sister moved to California, and I mentioned in one of my last episodes that we've been together our whole entire lives. So losing her is like losing my other half. This is the first time I'm genuinely learning how to be without her, and it's been hard. It's sad being away from her. And I can sit there and harp on that. I can sit there on the fact that I'm alone and my sister's not here and I'm going through such a hard time. Or I can use cognitive reappraisal to switch my perspective and start telling myself, wow, it is hard that she's not here, but now I get to learn how to actually be alone. This is actually going to make me more confident because I'm going to start doing things alone, whereas before I always had her. So this is how you begin shifting yourself. This is how you begin shifting your life and shifting your behaviors, because once you become emotionally intelligent, it gives you the ability to start doing this. It gives you the ability to start changing your thoughts so you can start changing your emotions and start calming yourself down, and this will change your behaviors. You won't be making impulsive decisions anymore. You won't be making decisions that sabotage your life because you are so aware of yourself, you're so aware of your thoughts and your emotions, and you have mastered how to control them. So now you are in control of your life. Your life doesn't knock you down so easily. If it helps, the next time you experience really intense emotions, or you're really angry, or you are in a disagreement, or you and your relationship are going through a very turbulent time, ask yourself, what does the version of you who is so confident, so emotionally intelligent, and has so much self-control, what would that version of you do? How would that version of you act? What would that version of you say? How would that version of you compose themselves? Would that version of you go send a long text? Would that version of you go off on someone? Would that version of you make an erratic decision to make someone jealous? Or just, would that version of you make any sort of impulsive decision? Probably not. So begin asking yourself what that version of you who is so emotionally intelligent would do, and begin following in those footsteps. In order to change as a person, you need to believe that it's possible for you. You can't say, oh, I've always been this way. I've always been angry. I've always just done this. I've always made impulsive decisions. I've always been immature and a loudmouth and ha ha ha, it's just a part of my personality. No. You don't have to carry on your characteristics that you've always been. And honestly, being a loudmouth isn't attractive. Like, I feel like sometimes people use it as this, like, oh yeah, I'm so confident, like I say it how it is. Like, no, like it's not an insanely attractive trait for you to be so impulsive with your words and have no filter. That's how you hurt people's feelings. And that's nothing to be proud of yourself about. So you need to begin believing that changing your characteristics and your persona is completely possible for you. Like I said, I was very different. I had no self-control. I led with my emotions. I let people affect me so much, and I was tired of that. And I was like, what does a life look like where I'm in control? And now I know, and I'll tell you that this life is way better than that life. And I believe in you to do it as well. It doesn't matter how long you've been a certain way. You can completely make a 180 shift in how you show up and how people view you. Because like I said, when you lack emotional intelligence, when you lead with your emotions and you allow people to affect you so much, people don't take you seriously. It's so much harder for people to respect you when you behave that way. But when you show up composed and you actually think about the decisions you make, when you actually think about the decisions you make, people take you seriously because they know once you've said, I'm done, or this is over, or I'm gonna make this decision, or I agree to this, they know you mean it. Whereas someone who is always just leading with their emotions, nobody takes that person seriously. Do you want to be someone who no one takes seriously? I don't think so. And the beautiful thing about this process, when you learn how to control yourself and you learn how to mitigate through intense emotions, when you learn how to stop making impulsive decisions, when you actually mean what you say and you raise your emotional intelligence levels, you begin to understand yourself so deeply that now you can understand everybody else. When someone hurts you or someone makes an impulsive decision or someone does something that feels like a betrayal, you can see right through it. You can see through people's impulsivity. You can see through people's emotions and how they carry themselves because you've done the work on yourself. You understand how that was. You understand yourself so well. So now you can start seeing it in other people. And also in regards to emotional intelligence, when you understand yourself so well and you understand your thoughts and your emotions and your behaviors and where they come from, you can start seeing that in other people. I don't know how long it took for me to develop this, but all of a sudden I started to realize that I could read everyone around me very well. I could almost read between the lines. I could see someone behave a certain way or say something to me, and I could understand the underlying meaning behind it because I started to understand myself so deeply. I did so much internal work and I picked my own brain apart so often that I naturally developed this skill to pick everyone else's brain apart too. So when I'm in disagreements with people, or I see someone act a certain way towards me, or I just see someone say something that throws me off a bit, I can just see the underlying intentions behind everything. I can see the underlying intentions and roots behind everything anyone says or the way people behave. And that's the skill that develops when you understand yourself so well, when you have developed a very high level of emotional intelligence and self-understanding, when you know yourself so deeply. It allows you to understand everyone else so deeply because you can only meet people as far as you've met yourself. So if you don't know yourself deeply, you won't be able to understand anyone else that deeply. You won't be able to unlock the deepest parts about someone else because you haven't unlocked the deepest parts about you. But once you unlock extremely deep parts about you, once you are so honest with yourself about your own thoughts and your own behaviors and why you are the way you are, you're able to understand someone else so deeply. Like they won't even have to go in that depth with you, and you can just understand them. They'll be telling you a story, they'll be telling you about themselves, they'll behave a certain way, and you understand why they are the way they are because you have met yourself so deeply that now you can meet everyone else on that same deep level. Honestly, I'm pretty sure there is a huge factor of empathy that plays into this. For emotional intelligence, I think one of the skills you need to develop is empathy, being able to understand your emotions and show up for them. And you'll see that when you know how to empathize with yourself, you begin to empathize with everyone else around you because what you can't give yourself, you can't give to anyone else. If you lack empathy with yourself, you think you're going to be able to give empathy to anyone else? No. And empathy is, I think, one core pillar to emotional intelligence. Emotional intelligence allows you to understand people and their thoughts and their emotions, and empathy plays a big role in that. Self awareness, self regulation, mature decision making, and empathy are all core pillars to emotional intelligence. And I really stress this because I think emotional intelligence, the amount of it that you have dictates how your life unfolds. If you don't understand yourself deeply, you're going to act on autopilot and act based off your unfavorable beliefs and your wounds. I talked about this in a past episode, but we're always behaving from our subconscious mind, our subconscious wounds. And once you develop emotional intelligence, you're able to understand your wounds so much deeper. And that's what impulsivity and acting erratically and having that type of persona stems from. It's just constantly acting from your wounds, constantly acting from autopilot. You let emotions in life drive you, dictate your decisions. You let people affect you. That person takes a certain action and it just ruins your whole day. That's what we don't want to be like. We don't want to act on autopilot. We want to assess our wounds. We want to assess why people's actions have such intense effects on us. Why do we think so insecurely about ourselves? Why do we make that impulsive decision? And when you get out of acting subconsciously and you start to get out of this autopilot mode where now you're in control of your life and you start to heal your subconscious wounds that you've been living through, and you develop emotional intelligence and you start to gain maturity and self-control, that is how you change your whole persona. I have completely mastered this, and of course I'm not perfect, but if I told you how I used to be, you just wouldn't believe me. If I told you the stories of how I used to act, it's night and day. It's night and day. And once you change yourself, once you change how you show up and you are less impulsive, you don't let your emotions dictate your decisions, you are more composed, you speak intellectually, you know how to show up in disagreements, you don't go off on people. Once you start behaving this way, you just become so much more intelligent. People respect you and your relationships look different. Your relationships are healthier. You have better friends. You have a better love life because you are no longer acting out of chaos. You have successfully calmed yourself down. You know how to control yourself and you know what decisions to make moving forward. This is how you trust yourself more. And that's another thing with people who make impulsive decisions, like how I used to. I didn't trust myself at all. It's so hard to trust yourself because you know you're leading with your emotions. Today you're going to feel one way and you're going to make that decision, and tomorrow you're going to feel a different way and regret your decision. That's why you don't trust yourself. And in order to start trusting yourself, you need to start calming yourself down before you make huge decisions. I will leave off on that note. Before you make a decision that kind of changes your day-to-day life, you need to start practicing to think before you do that. Because usually when we do that, when we let someone go off on someone, make a decision that we know impacts everything, it's because we're looking for some sort of reaction, or we're looking to mitigate insecure feelings or fearful feelings that we're feeling in us. We want to regulate ourselves. We want to feel confident and in our power again. So we think by making this erratic decision that will feel that confidence and that sense of control, and that's not what's gonna happen. And I'm sure you can think back to times where you have done that and you realize that you have perpetuated more chaos. So I will leave off on that note. Begin realizing that you need to be more thoughtful about the decisions you make. If you want to trust yourself more, you need to give yourself reason to. You need to calm yourself down before you make any sort of decisions. That's how you build trust within yourself, because now you know you're not making decisions based off impulsivity or emotions. You're making them because you truly believe that that's the best for you. Learning how to stop being predictable and increasing your emotional intelligence levels and learning how to regulate yourself, that is what turns you from a person that nobody respected to a person who is so confident that everyone is careful with. People will make sure to treat you correctly. People will take you seriously because you take yourself seriously. It's so hard for people to look at you and treat you with love and respect when you don't treat yourself with love and respect. When you're acting chaotic and you're making impulsive decisions and you let your emotions guide you, that's not moving with love and respect. That's moving with insecurity and fear. And the way you treat yourself is mirrored back to you. People can only treat you the way you treat yourself. So if you want people to start viewing you as a smart, emotionally intelligent, composed person who they know they need to respect if they want a spot in your life, you need to begin treating yourself that way. You need to begin showing up that way. You need to begin regulating yourself. Because without these things, you're going to continuously perpetuate chaos in your life. And I don't want that for you. And on that note, I will end this episode here. Thank you guys so much for listening. If there's any other topics you guys want me to talk about for future episodes, go ahead and let me know. I will see you guys on the next episode. Thank you guys so much.